Hello everybody and welcome back to Insider's Guide. Today we're continuing our discussion of the closest destination ski resort to both Los Angeles and Las Vegas, Mammoth. Because Mammoth is, well, Mammoth, this episode is split into 4 parts. You'll want to watch all 4 if you want to know about the whole mountain, as today we're only discussing the main lodge and McCoy Station areas of the resort. So with that, let's continue in Insider's Guide to Ski Resorts, Mammoth. In Part B, it was mentioned that the Mill is the worst choke point at the resort due to it being the hub for transferring from one side of the mountain to the other, so let's expand on that a bit further. If you plan on going from the east side of the mountain to the west side of the mountain, for instance heading from Canyon Lodge to Main Lodge, you must take Stump Alley Express, Chair 2. Stump Alley generally gets longer lines than the Gold Rush Express, but 20 to 30 minute waits at either, especially Stump Alley, are not out of the question. This is where this video comes in handy. There is a way to skip the Mill to go from east to west, and that is to take the unnamed traverse that goes from Cloud9 Express all the way to Facelift Express. It kinda goes around behind the High Five Express in a little gulch back here, and is a little bit uphill when you pass Dry Creek, but if you keep your speed you can get across without skating or pushing. This allows you to get to the Gondola Midstation or the bottom of Facelift, which together access the entire western footprint of the resort, all while skipping the massive lines at the Mill. Stump Alley is another busy Mammoth Blue. It's very wide and very crowded. If you can, cut off to your left where you see a little road called St. Moritz and drop down Patrolman's. Patrolman's is the easiest single black on the mountain and is pretty much just a straight tree-to-find run that sometimes has moguls, but they're never very big. Patrolman's is always less crowded than the lower half of Stump Alley, so you should take it instead. Over Easy is a super short tree-cut trail that takes you from this middle area to the Mill. Mambo and Phantom's Escape are just some more blue runs that allow you to get to the Mill without having to deal with Stump Alley. They are tree cut and groomed, and Mambo gets less crowded as you reach the bottom because many people cut back over to get to Main Lodge instead of going to the Mill. Now, let's jump over to Main Lodge. The Unbound Express, Chair 6, which used to be known by a way cooler name, Thunderbound Express, is strictly a park lift. It services Main Park, which is one of the top-rated terrain parks in the world. It has a mixture of extremely large jumps, including a 120-foot jump in 2017, creatively shaped rails, jibs, and a 22-foot superpipe. Forest Trail is a toned-down version of that and is where most park riders go to warm up. It also has an 11-foot halfpipe. If you think you're a great park rider but have never been to Mammoth, start here. Main Park is a whole different beast. Outside of the terrain parks, the only good repeat run that Unbound serves is St. Moritz, which is a road in certain offshoots, but you can avoid those sections. Overall, St. Moritz is a nice green, but gets a lot of advanced skier traffic because it runs right alongside the Main and Forest Trail parks. You, of course, can get to the Stump Alley runs as well, but I would recommend avoiding doing that unless lines at the Main Lodge are so unbearable that you're heading back to the canyon side. If for some masochistic reason you enjoy weaving through the crowds on Broadway, but the Broadway Express is busy, you can also use 6 to lap Broadway. Aside from that, it's pretty difficult to get anywhere from the top of Unbound. The Lower Panorama Gondola stops at McCoy Station, the mid-mountain chalet. From McCoy Station, you can get pretty much everywhere on the mountain without having to stop at any of the bases. As such, the lower gondola is often the best option out of Main Base if you want to get somewhere far away, as Broadway is often super busy and other lifts don't get you anywhere. Aside from this purpose, you shouldn't take Lower Panorama unless you're waiting for the Upper Panorama Gondola to open and want to be ready when it does to get first tracks down Climax or another summit run. If you walk up a little hill behind McCoy Station, you'll find a blue run called Knee Deep and a wide open bowl called Rogers Ridge. This run isn't ridden very often because of how out of the way it is. Keep going down Knee Deep and you can find Pattons, a series of short steep chutes designated by an inconspicuous Experts Only sign. Keep going to find Drop 18, a relatively uninteresting short black diamond. When there is less snow, Pattons tends to be closed and Drop 18 begins to resemble Pattons. The Facelift Express, Chair 3, can see lines, but they're generally not too egregious. It has some great blue runs like Center and East Bowl, the latter of which isn't actually depicted on the trail map. West Bowl is a great black mogul run. Saddle Bowl is a blue that begins between the peak at the top of Facelift Express and the summit. It's right in the canyon and is very aesthetic. After that, it hugs the bottom of the cliff at the edge of West Bowl. Saddle Bowl is enjoyable because of its scenery, but it is mainly used to get elsewhere. If you stick to the east side of the area, you'll get to Christmas Bowl and China Bowl. These get ridden much less than the neighboring East and Center Bowls and are ungroomed. At the bottom of China Bowl, there is an exciting rock chute. It is a great experience that mimics harder double black chutes without the added risk and difficulty. At the bottom of China Bowl, there is this double black diamond, Walters. It is the only double black on the mountain that isn't risky or even incredibly difficult. If you can confidently ride most single blacks at Mammoth, Walters should not be terribly difficult. It's very steep but so short that after 3 turns you'll be done with the hard part. If you aren't comfortable skiing the blacks but want to get to the High 5 Express from Facelift, you can take Coyote by sticking to the skier's right of center bowl. It is usually groomed, so it provides a good place to bail if your legs aren't holding up or you aren't ready for black diamonds. Broadway Express, Chair 1, is one of the best lower mountain lifts for advanced skiers, but this comes with a caveat. Being so good, it has the lines to match, often upwards of 15 minutes on peak days. The primary run in the Broadway pod is the titular Blue Cruiser Broadway. Broadway is incredibly wide, but still somehow finds itself as one of the most crowded individual runs on the mountain. A good alternative to Broadway is to go around on Silvertip to Rusty's to Ralphie's, which will get you about 3/4 of the way down without having to venture onto Broadway. This line runs around the sub-peak of Broadway Express and is the best way to skip the top of the Broadway run. The Broadway lift also serves several steep black roomers and Gravy Chute, a steep narrow chute with action figures glued to the rocks. Gravy Chute is pretty hard for a single black. It used to be a double black, so you'll want to be comfortable with most other single blacks on the mountain before attempting it. Below Gravy Chute is Glades, a steep glade run with tightly spaced and widely spaced glades. Below Rusty's are a bunch of groomed blacks. If you get to ride Fascination, Andy's Double Gold, Blue Ox, or AG's run, consider yourself supremely lucky. These runs are almost always closed for ski races, so much so that it is a running joke with Mammoth skiers. If you hike up from the top of Broadway Express to the top of the sub-peak and look down, facing the top of Discovery Express, you'll find a series of 3 short chutes. They need a ton of snowfall to fill in, but are a good option for experts when the summit is closed, which is pretty much every time it snows more than a foot or is windy. During those times, options like this become increasingly valuable as the vast majority of expert terrain is in the summit area. Behind Broadway Express is St. Anton, one of the most useful trails on the mountain for getting from Facelift Express to Main Lodge or Chair 12. It is also quite enjoyable as it is perennially groomed and very long. It also enjoys incredible views of the upper mountain expert runs. It runs directly beneath dropout and wipeout chutes as well as the entire Paranoid Cliff area. It's a good way to check snow quality and coverage on the extreme chutes up there. Broadway Express also gives easy access to the upper panorama gondola and Chair 23. Europa Cup, World Cup, and Gremlins Gulch are all very similar, blue runs that start above treeline and make their way down. Gremlins Gulch takes you to Chair 23 and then turns into St. Anton. World Cup and Europa Cup combine into Silvertip, which turns into a sort of wide natural halfpipe. Silvertip then turns into Terry's Run, which is steeper and more of a standard tree-cut blue-black. Jumping back down to the base area, the Discovery Express Chair 11 is a short beginner lift that is comparable to Schoolyard Express, which we covered in the last video. Despite its high capacity, it still gets lines similar to those at Broadway Express, so I suggest you take Broadway if you are above beginner level unless you really want to take Discovery for some reason. The only semi-reasonable reason I could understand for taking 11 over 1 is for a more direct route to Chair 12 and the backside. Discovery has a beginner park akin to Wonderland, which we also discussed last episode, but slightly worse in my opinion. It lacks the same creativity and features, but it's a great learning zone nonetheless. If you want some high-quality, non-ski lodge buffet dining, the Yodeler, located behind the lower gondola house, is the place to go. This Bavarian-style restaurant a short walk behind the gondola station has insanely good giant pretzels and offers a homey, high-alpine vibe. I have heard great things about their bratwurst, and my personal favorite is their fondue. This Chair 12 double is the place to be on a powder day if you're an intermediate skier. All of these runs are mellow, and you can get fresh tracks here for hours. It also gives access to the backside and outpost. To get to 12, the fastest way is to take Discovery and then stick way far to your right. Alternatively, if you're coming down St. Anton, take Coming Through to get to it. For the easiest way down, take White Bark Ridge, which holds amazing powder. New Critters and Lodgepole are nothing short of blissful if you get the privilege to ski them on a powder day on a weekday. Not a person will be in sight and you'll have untracked powder for hours. Given all of these blues back here, not all are regularly groomed. The trails that are regularly groomed in the Chair 12 pod are Critters and White Bark Ridge. Chair 12 is a really nice area of the resort as a whole for lower level skiers, as it has mild terrain with equally comparatively short lift lines, with the worst typically only being 5 to 10 minutes on the busiest days. The primary downside of Chair 12 is that really the only way to get back to the main lodge from Chair 12 is Lower Roadrunner, which is painfully flat. Snowboarders, prepare to unstrap. Well, that about wraps it up for the main lodge and McCoy Station sections of Mammoth. Go check out parts A, B, and D all about the rest of the mountain. As always, please leave any questions down below. Thank you all so much for watching. All my love, I'm out.